Let's talk with Rachel. Rachel is a gal coming from Arizona. And Rachel says, my Christian friend told me that she can only accept advice from other Christians. Wow, Rachel. I see that kind of stuff sometimes. How'd that make you feel?
Oh, awful. We had been friends for 4 years. We first met online, and then I spent a lot of time with her in person. I moved to the state she was at, and then she just kind of said that out of nowhere, and she didn't even think anything of it. So when I asked her later about it, she said, oh, well, I wasn't talking about you. I was just meaning that, well, with us, I can't take advice for the important things. And I don't think that's any better.
Right. Yeah. Unimportant things like how much sugar to put in your apple pie. Sure. Yeah. Well, your friend is, what kind of a Christian is she?
I'm an ex-Mormon, so I'm not super familiar with all the branches. She said that she would consider herself closest to, it sounds like angel. I forget how it's called. It's not coming at the moment. Angelica, or something like that. What's it called?
Evangelical?
Yes, that's the word. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was Mormon for 25 years.
You were Mormon for 25 years?
I was. I went to BYU and everything.
All right. Well, but you got yourself out of it. So that's quite an achievement.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I found out about the history, and then I was like, oh, heck no. I'm in a cult. So, yeah. But then I was thinking at the time, oh, maybe Christianity is just what I need without the BS. And I was, more skeptical at that point still. And so I looked at it from that lens, and I realized that there's just a lot that doesn't line up with Christianity as well. And now I would say I'm more of a skeptical agnostic, almost a bitter agnostic, honestly. But
I kind of am too. What did your friend, did she, and maybe she didn't provide you any details, but maybe you could just speculate, what were the important things that she was talking about with regard to advice?
I would like to think it's only with, Christian decisions, but I'd say it's a lot more than that. I'd say it's about, relationships and morals. And I get that they're not all going to line up, but if you're going to just automatically dismiss all of mine just because, that's a little hard.
Yeah. I'm not perfect, but I consider myself a person with morals as well. And, doing the right thing as best I can with the information available to me. And that's obnoxious to me, is how some Bible thumping folk think that they've cornered the market on correct action.
So my typical tactic, I guess, for any conversation concerning morals or morality is to really try to get a sense of like where their morals are at, or how they make moral determinations. And I typically use verses like Numbers 31:17-18, seeing how they interpret or they reconcile that with this whole idea about being a good moral person, or that God is all good, or God is the moral arbiter of our reality, I guess, because that usually can reveal how that person at least interprets their moral foundation, because it kind of puts them in a weird spot where they've either got to justify the genocide of an entire group of people, including small children, babies, women, all that, not just like warring men or whatever, but actually like innocent people. Like they've either got to justify that as being good or okay, or they have to figure out some other kind of way around it. But it'll definitely reveal, like, whether or not I get, for me at least, it reveals whether or not I should care about like their particular moral conclusions, or how they think, how they're criticizing the way that I come to moral conclusions, because I totally feel like how anybody reconciles the genocide of the Midianites in Numbers 31 is going to reveal a lot about them. And if you do that, I would definitely ask them about that section, and then just, I guess, deal with it from there. If they justify genocide of children and women and all them, then you kind of know where they stand as far as the whole moral conclusions go. And I personally wouldn't care about what they said about my moral conclusions, or how I justify my morality.
What are your thoughts on that, Rachel?
Yeah. I'd say that's right, honestly. Because I was kind of ranting to myself just before I got on the radio with you, not a radio, but, and I kind of told myself that, if she doesn't value my stances, even if they don't always align with hers, where it matters most, then how can I consider as friends where it matters most? And I tried to ignore that it's been a couple of years since she said that, but I can't continue to have that kind of relationship that's so one-sided.
Rachel, I think your friend's full of shit. I think that she probably heard that from some charlatan Charlie preacher who's trying to get her money and get her to listen to what he or she has to say. And she's surrounded by other people who nod in their head like a little bobblehead about it, because there's some nice stuff in there too. And I think when push comes to shove and your friend's in trouble and you are the person she turns to, if other people aren't there, she will give a whole lot of care about your opinions on those important things. And she'll realize that the reason why you have those beliefs and those values is because you value her as a person. You value peace and love and friendship and kindness and all that stuff, right? And that your opinions are calculated to further that. I'm assuming this is what you're like, Rachel. You could be a real piece of junk. I don't know, but you sound like you're all right. But all those things that you value, and you can connect the dots between those values and your opinions on certain issues. And so she said it, she backed off, she got caught. I've been in work environments where I've heard all kinds of crap, and I tend not to go high when people go low. I tend to go lower when people say stupid shit. It's just who I am in real life. I'm much more confrontational than I am here in certain avenues of life when my dander gets up. Here I'm more measured, because I think we all need to support each other in when we hear these terrible things, these hurtful, thoughtless, slavish attitudes towards dinosaur thoughts from thousands of years ago, written by people who had very much a vested interest in getting their shekels or drachma into the hands of themselves. But I think that with your friend, a good way to approach it might be to just be a great example of an agnostic skeptic, as you call yourself, who will be there for a friend. That you don't need a God to help you understand what the most compassionate thing to do is, what the most thoughtful thing to do is, to be a good friend and supportive. Don't send thoughts and prayers like so many of the wonderful people at her little tent church might do. if she's sick, bring her food. If she needs a ride, give her a ride. If she needs someone to talk to, be there and listen. Real things are what humanists focus on. The real world, not thoughts. Thoughts insofar as they lead to action, and not prayers, because that's just talking to yourself. It seems. I might be wrong. Be a better Christian minus God to her, and she'll probably come back and apologize, and that'll be fun. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, if it does happen, that'd be nice. Or I didn't mention that I left that state that she's in a couple of years ago, so it's been that long, and she's kind of stuck to that ideal as far as I can tell. We only really talk about common interests and not anything important, like she said. Like we used to all the time, but that was back when we were both a little kind of going through a lot and leaving our own religions in a way, and then she went right back in, and I just left entirely. So, yeah. But you're right.
Well,
do you think I
can't win them all?
Anything at all, or just kind of? No, you can't.
How often do you talk to her? How often do you talk to this person?
We used to talk every day, but lately it's every couple of weeks, honestly. If that.
Do you do any volunteering?
Any what?
Do you do any volunteering?
Sorry. Not as much as I would like. I have a full-time job, and I just got a dog, and she's my life now. But
I get you.
Yeah, I'd love to do some volunteering.
Well, when you get the time and the bandwidth, financial or whatever, maybe do that. And she wants to talk about common interests, right? Well, perhaps you could start virtue signaling a little bit. On the one hand, you'll be doing good stuff for others. And on the other hand, you'll be sending a message that just because you don't believe doesn't mean that you don't care. And you can't force her. And we here on these shows, you see us talking to people, you see that it can get kind of confrontational, and it's not always the best way to approach friends and family members. It's these are willing participants. Mike and Bernard, they called us. We didn't call them. And so, I have believer friends, and I don't talk about this stuff all the time. Whenever it comes up, I do my part to let them know that just because I don't believe in, sweet baby Jesus, doesn't mean that I don't care about how their kids are doing, how their parents are doing, how they're doing, and the world that we share. So that's my thought. John, last thoughts?
No, I like that.
Yeah. I just want to say that I wasn't trying to make a case that, you should cut off any kind of like friendship or anything like that, as far as like how I would normally handle the moral argument or any talk of morality. I just usually try to center myself and my expectations around, how they answer those particular questions that I have about like Numbers 31. I definitely support what Johnny was saying about your relationship with your friend. I definitely think being that voice of reason there to help guide them through different things is much better than creating some kind of difficult situation by being confrontational. So definitely what Johnny said.
I don't hear that very often.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Well, thanks for calling in, Rachel. Best of luck to you. Let us know if there's any interesting developments. And remember that's on her, not on you. What she said is on her. Probably speaking out of ignorance. She might have, if she's worth her salt, she's like, ooh, she might be cringing about it. And maybe she doesn't. Who knows? But best of luck to you. Take care, okay?
Yeah.